Okay, next we're gonna remove the tire. Put the car up on jack stands, so we have two on each side, and then we're gonna go ahead and finish removing the tire here. Next, we're gonna remove this plastic piece inside the wheel well. There's two nuts that are removed up here, and then two underneath. And I'll just go ahead and pull it off. It's stuck behind that one, and it'll come right off. So next we're going to go ahead and remove the air filter. There's 3 bolts, 10mm size, 1 in the front, 2 in the back. We're going to go ahead and undo them, and then we're going to undo our hoses and get this completely out of the way so we can access the timing belt. We're going to put a piece of wood on a jack, and then we're going to support the motor so that we can remove the motor mount so we can access the timing belt covers. Okay, for this next part, we're removing this motor mount to get to the timing belt cover. There's 6 bolts in all. There's 3 going into the frame itself, and then there's 3 going into another motor mount, or the other half of the motor mount on this bottom side. So these top 3 are an 11/16. You probably gonna need some air tools or a breaker bar. They were really tough to get off. And then I think these ones were, I want to say 7/16 down here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this. Keep in mind that we supported the engine block on the bottom side with a jack. Right now I'm draining the coolant. As you can see right there. It was really difficult to do this. I couldn't find very much online about where the drain plug was, so I just had to look for a while. I looked in the owner's manual and it wasn't too clear. But if you look just down here, if I can get better light, down there at the very bottom on the left is just the drain bolt. And I believe it's like a 12 or 13mm, something like that. You open that up and it actually drains right out of that rubber grommet. We're going to remove the accessory belt. It's important to make sure you know what direction it was going in, and replace it if it needs to be replaced, if it's cracked or damaged in any way. This one's actually new, so it's good to go. And then it's also important to remember how it goes through all the different things, all the different accessories. So, and to remove this, we're going to go ahead and take a breaker bar with a 14mm socket on it, and we're going to rotate the tensioner right down here. We're going to just rotate that clockwise, and it's going to free up the belt for it. And just go ahead and pop it right off. You can pull it off the rest of them, and it's out. Okay, so now that we got the bolts out on the upper timing belt cover, a tip to get more space from your air conditioning line right here. There's a bracket right here that we can take the bolt off of that's holding the line in place. It's very important to be careful around these lines. So we're going to go ahead and remove that, and then that'll give us more space to get the timing belt cover out. Okay, for this step, we're going to remove the bolt that holds the harmonic balancer in and crankshaft pulley. So for this, you're going to need an impact gun, and just going to put it right on there. Make sure it's going the right way. Spin it right off. Like that. And let's see. There is our bolt. Now we can go ahead and remove the harmonic balancer and the pulley just by pulling it right off, just like that. And now we can remove the lower timing belt case and get to the rest of the bolts. Now we're going to remove the other half of the engine mount. It's just 2 10mm bolts right down here. So to remove the water pump, we're going to take, there's a special tool you're supposed to use that's a water pump removal tool that's just like a 41mm box end wrench or crowfoot. But I was able, just with some large channel locks, to get on there nice and square and rotate the water pump, and that's going to loosen up the tension on our belt. We can go ahead and slip it off here. Just like that. Okay, next I'm going to remove the cam gears. It's just like a 17mm socket, and I'm going to use my impact gun to spin them off, and then from that we'll be able to remove the back side of the timing belt to pull off the water pump. So now we're going to remove the idler pulley. I already broke it loose with my air ratchet. It was a 14mm, and so we're just going to go ahead, after you break it loose, you can just spin it right out, and then we'll be able to put the new one right back in. So next I'm going to be pulling off the tensioner pulley. It's 12mm bolts, and there's 3 of them, so I already broke them loose. We'll be able to spin them right out, and that pulley will come right off. And then from there we'll be able to take off the back of the timing belt cover with these are 10mm screws back here. There's one over here and one on this side, and I don't see any more than that, but I could be wrong. So we're going to go ahead and remove that. So after getting the back timing belt cover removed, which I had to undo this, looks like a camshaft position sensor to pull it out, and I just left the bolts right in there so I can put it back together. Then go ahead and just pull out those 3 retaining bolts holding our water pump in, and then the water pump just comes right out just like that. Okay, now we got the water pump out, and I cleaned up the old gasket, scraped it off and got it all clean. Now I have the new water pump here. I'm going to go ahead and put on. I got some thermostat and water pump gasket sealer just to put on there to help get a better seal, and then I'll go ahead and put this on, and then we're going to go ahead and put the water pump in. Okay, so we got the new water pump in. Realize though that you actually can put those 3 bolts on first and then put the back cover on. That's what I did. It made it a lot easier. But remember, don't tighten them down all the way yet, because we're going to use that as our tensioner on our timing belt. So next I'm going to put both the idler pulley, and I guess this is another idler pulley. It's not for the tension, but I'm going to go ahead and put those 2 new ones on. Just 3 bolts on the one, and then just the single bolt on the other. Okay, I got all the components back on and replaced, and I got the back of the timing belt cover, all those bolts back in. Now I'm going to put the 2 cam gears back on. I'm going to use my impact gun to get them on there nice and tight, and then we'll be ready to put the new belt on. Okay, so now we're ready to install the timing belt itself. Now this is probably the most important part of the whole job. We have to make sure all our timing marks are aligned. Okay, so I got my belt on now. So like I was saying before, you put it on the crankshaft, then you go counterclockwise around, put it on your idler pulley, and then around the camshafts, and then back down. All the slack should be where your water pump is. And then you're going to rotate your water pump. Once you get it all timed and all the marks lined up, you rotate the water pump clockwise. It's going to move it out and tighten it up. And what will happen is the pulley will tighten up, and that arrow on the left that you see on here, see, you get a white background, that arrow on the left should go all the way up to that gap at the top. That's how tight it should be. Then you want to spin it 2 times to get all the slack out of your belt, and then it's going to go back to the middle arrow that you see there. So I'm going to go ahead and spin it twice now and loosen it back up. So now I'm going to take my hex key and tighten up the 3 bolts around the water pump. That's going to hold the water pump in place, and it's crucial to get them tight so your water pump doesn't leak, and you want to tighten them down evenly so you don't break the aluminum or whatever metal that's made out of. Now I installed the bottom half of the motor mount, which was 5 bolts, or 4 bolts, and now I can go ahead and install the bottom half of the timing belt cover, and then I will install the harmonic balancer using my impact gun, and then from there we'll be just about done. We got the harmonic balancer on and the bottom timing belt cover on. So now I'm going to go ahead and put top timing belt cover on. And I'll be able to put the air filter and accessory belt and everything else in place, and we'll be able to start up and run. Okay, the motor mount, covers, and belt, accessory belt, it's all back in place. Now I'm going to hook up the air filter and add coolant to it because we lost coolant when we removed the water pump.